Welcome everyone to the Sunrise School Division regular board meeting as of May 18th. The agendas certainly are online. I'm going to call our meeting to order, and we're going to have Old Canada from Oakbank Elementary School. Please stand if you can do so. Thank you to Oakbank Elementary School, much appreciated, job well done. We have 1.3 treaty acknowledgement. Trustee Pachikowski, will you please read that out for us?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. Just got to get it up on my screen here. We acknowledge the traditional land upon which Sunrise School Division resides as Treaty 1 territory. We honor our partnership with Canada's original peoples and respect the gifts of Indigenous history, culture, and language. We commit to moving forward in a partnership with our communities in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation.
Thank you, Trustee Pachikowski. 2.1 is the adoption of our agenda. Be it resolved that the board approve the agenda. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by
Trustee Pachikowski.
Thank you. Seconded by
Harris.
Trustee Harris, thank you. Any questions to it? If none, we'll vote electronically.
It's going to take me a minute to get into ESB, I think.
While we're waiting for Trustee Reed to get into ESB, I do need to let people know that there are two trustees that aren't be able to make it tonight. Trustee Barry and Trustee Inslee both have some personal matters that have arisen and will not be able to join us. So there are 7 trustees that are here with us tonight. How's it going, Russ?
Getting close, sorry. Okay, now this is 2-1, right?
Thank you. So there are 7 in favor, and that is all who are there. Thank you for doing that. 3.0 is about the chair's comments and sharing a story. The only chair comment that I'd like to share is thank you to senior administration. This past week up in Parview has been, for the past a little while, senior administration has been challenging with regard to COVID and the work that they've had to go ahead and do, and successfully certainly sharing the information and putting our school on remote learning. Of course, nobody wants to be on remote learning, but it's about trying to keep people safe. And kudos to the work that you guys did in that process. So thank you for going ahead and doing that. Do any other trustees like to share a story? Okay, hearing none. If any of you have questions, please send those questions to scarlton@sunrisesd.ca, and in the question period, we'll try to answer those questions for you. So you have the opportunity to send those questions throughout our meeting. I'm going to move on to 4.1, Transportation Department. I'm going to get you, Scott, to introduce Jason.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Tonight we've got our transportation manager, Jason Ziprick. Jason, you're going to correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe October, so you're into month 7, I think is about right. One of the items that has been on our radar for a while now that predates Jason, obviously, is the concept of electric buses. So we did ask him to come and give us a brief presentation on that. And in addition, I think it's important in 7 months in to get an idea from Jason on how things are going. He's made it through now, knock on wood, hopefully won't get snow in May, his first winter as the transportation manager for Sunrise, and there were certainly some challenging times that we made it through. Today a different challenge in that we had some road closures due to forest fires. So he's done a little bit of everything in his first 7 months. So I'll let him give you an update on where he's at. Jason?
Sure.
Jason, are you? Can you share your screen? Would you like me to?
I can do that. I can share the content. If that's I'll share. Can you see it?
I cannot.
How about now?
No, I don't see it, Jason. I'm happy to throw it up here. I think I've got it. I'm just going to drag this to that screen.
Oh, I think I can do it.
Okay, that should be up there, Jason. Go ahead. I'll just let me know if you want me to turn pages, and I'll let you.
Okay, sure thing. So what I'm going to start with is on slide 2 is just what I call a dashboard, and it really is just talking a little bit about some of the highlights, some of the stuff that we've done in the I guess it was probably almost 10 months of school, and certainly it has been a bit of a learning experience for me, but hats off to my team. They have rallied around having a new manager and taught me what I need to learn, and we are getting along very well. So from a dashboard perspective, you can see what is important, the number of routes. We were able to reduce 2 routes this year from 89 to 87. One of the big challenges at the beginning of the school year was a lack of spare drivers. So we went on a hiring blitz and managed to increase that number by 12, which is not no small task. When I talk to some of my peers across the province, they are quite surprised that we were able in COVID year to be able to bring on 12 spare drivers, but through some hard work and lots of training and focus, we were able to do that. And then on the a large portion of our budget is fuel. So you can see I've just put into a little graphic there to show that fuel the costs are rising. I don't think that will be a surprise to anybody who owns a car. It impacts us as well from a fleet perspective. And then safety, the inspections. We are mandated to complete inspections on the bus every 6 months. So that is just still tracking there. Talking about the cold weather closures, we did very, very well, and then. Right towards the end, we had a couple of days there that portions of the division were closed, and then the budget. You're well aware of that. We're on track. From a health and safety perspective, we are doing okay. Keep in mind that last year was a shortened year, so we are, I'd like to have none, but the majority are slips and trips. From a professional driver or from a professional development perspective, we exceeded our goal. So we are required as part of the Public Schools Act and the school bus regulation to provide 8 hours a year of training to our drivers. And through some very creative thinking, we managed to actually deliver more than that, and without having a PD day, without bringing drivers together. So very proud of that. Along with that, we created a couple of videos that we created ourselves. So one of those was a spring bus evacuation video that we created and sent out to all the schools to show to every student in the classroom. Because of the COVID year, we did have allowance from the province to do the training virtually, and because we did an in-person training in fall, and with COVID cases heating up and everything else, we figured, you know what, let's figure something out. So we created a video on a spring bus evacuation, and for me, the highlight of that, and if anybody wants to see the video, if you haven't seen it, let me know. I can send you the link to it. And but the highlight of that for me was the involvement of the drama students from ESS, and we were doing very well on time on the planned video. And I said to the drama teacher, you guys want to have a go at it? And so all the kids were very excited, and they produced their own bus evacuation video. So it was pretty neat to see that. The parent app, we had a demo from 2 vendors, and we've made a decision on which one we will proceed with, and that will probably we'll look at that more into next school year for an implementation date. Parent survey, going to send that out in the next month. We started our bus planning for next year. Started planning our routes. We've got our kindergarten registrations in, so we're starting to take a look at that. Bus retirement, we're going to send 10 buses out of our asset base. We'll do that in the next month or so. And propane buses, I'll talk more about that in the presentation. So that really is just a very high-level summary in a pictorial view that kind of summarizes what we think for metrics or key performance indicators for our team. And as we go through, some of these will fall off, and we'll add new ones. But this is probably something that I will continue doing throughout every month. So from an alternative fuel discussion, it's important to understand our fleet. And right now, our current fleet, this is spares and buses on routes. We have 96 diesel buses, 28 gas buses. We have been purchasing gas buses, the majority in the last 5 years. And then there's just a table that shows the price of a bus. As with anything, it has gone up in price over the last 5 years, but not anything that is massive. The parking location is important when we start to look at things like electric buses, and this is a challenge for us, given that 62 out of 87 buses actually park at drivers' homes. And this allows us to be more efficient with fuel, allows us to be more efficient with time, and in some areas of our division, like Whitemouth, Lactabani, and Powerview, we don't really have a compound to park at, so it makes sense for the drivers to park at home. From a fuel perspective, you can see the numbers of liters of diesel and gas that we've purchased so far this year. This is probably not right up to May 18th. It's probably more like the end of April. And then just to give you just a little bit of insight into how much some of what we're spending for fuel on routes, this is just a snapshot of our top 10 routes for this year. And again, what we spent on fuel probably up until about the end of April. So it is you can see a pretty good cross section of locations of where these buses are based out of and the areas that they serve. So let's when we're going to talk about alternative fuel, and we'll talk a little bit about propane, and we'll talk more about electric power. So if you are in tune at all with school buses and what is going on in the industry or in the school ecosystem. Electric buses are starting to really get a lot of airplay. Joe Biden committed $25 billion to convert school buses to electric power within being in office only a month or two. The Canadian government announced in March that they are investing $2.7 billion. That was not just for school buses, though, that was transit and school buses. And then you can see some real examples here in Canada. In PEI purchased 12 electric school buses. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide, as well as what BC did. I had an opportunity to talk to both transportation managers in BC and PEI to do a little lessons learned. So I'll talk about that. And just for a scale perspective, you know, the U.S. when you hear numbers, the U.S. has almost 500,000 school buses running every day in the U.S. Here in Canada, our number is just around 52,000. So we are equivalent to a state like New York or Texas. So again, you know, when it comes to when you're looking at new technology, cutting edge technology, we do have to understand the scale that we're sitting at within the industry. And the four main bus vendors that offer electric vehicles, three of them are very familiar to us. We use Thomas, we use Bluebird, we use International. The other one is a Lion, and they are the only manufacturer in Canada. They're located in Quebec. We don't have a lot of experience with them here, but they are certainly making a very, very strong push to be the prime supplier for electric buses. So just a couple data points on electric buses. The cost for one is, and this is it does not matter which vendor, it is about $350,000 per bus, and that lines up to about 3 times the cost of a gas or diesel bus, plus you have your charging infrastructure. The range, this will vary a little bit on the battery that you purchase. The range is about 217 kilometers per charge. Charge time, again, you know, most of the vendors are similar. Charge time is 2 to 4 hours. Thomas actually did a year-long trial up in Alaska. The challenge for us is it does require a specific charging station, and right now there is no division that is doing that at a driver's home. The investment at a driver's home would be significant. Then you do get into having to reimburse for hydro. It just becomes a challenge that we will have to overcome. From a savings perspective, and these are after talking to BC and what they're expecting. They only rolled out their buses in the last, they've only had them for 2 weeks, so they are just going on estimates as part of their program. They expect to cost 40% less in maintenance, and the fuel savings, and this is the big one, versus gas or diesel, is you are saving 23 cents a kilometer by using the electric buses. So like I said, I did have a chance to talk to both PEI and BC. My chat with the lady in BC came after I put these slides together, so I don't have anything written down, but both, and this is where it gets just a little bit you know, not complicated, but certainly there's many layers to it, and both alluded to that neither of them could have done this without government funding. So you know, when I talked to the folks from PEI, they got initially 2.1 million from the province, 2.7 from the federal government, and they purchased 12 buses. I asked, you know, are you going to continue with this? Because they have a fleet of 300 buses, and you know, their response was, we will only continue this if we get funding from the government. If that doesn't continue, we are back to gas and diesel buses, just because the cost right now is just so much. They're using Lion buses for their program. They did not issue a tender. The manufacturing plant is in Justin Trudeau's riding. So, he didn't get into it. He just kind of said that, and that was it. He indicated that there would be a tender issued in the future. As of right now, 2 of those 12 buses have been sent back to Lion for repairs. And the challenge with Lion, unless you are located right in Quebec, is they don't have a lot of support across Canada. And that was one of the reasons why in BC they did not go with Lion. They went with International because there was a local vendor on Vancouver Island who could support them. For PEI, they actually had to float by barge. They had to float these buses all the way back to Quebec for repairs. Obviously under warranty, but still, you get a bus, and 2 of them out of having them since March have gone back. The feedback on the buses that are there, very, very, very positive. The drivers love it. Students love it. The parents love it. It really is a huge step in from an environmental perspective. They have not tracked their cost savings as of yet because it's only been a couple of months. The BC was a little bit different. It was the entire province of BC. All of their school divisions worked together on a program, and each school division south of Kamloops got a portion of the 18 buses that they purchased. They did not do anything way up north in BC. There was mostly provincial money, and their government there, very, very focused on environmental, very, very generous with the grants. They put together all of the funding to do the infrastructure analysis, and really it was a team effort from all school divisions across BC, along with the provincial government there. So next slide, Scott. So for us, I've just put together a very high level roadmap over the next 1 to 3 years. And that timeline right now is very, very wide open because I haven't had any discussions with any governments around grants or infrastructure investment. So, if we get to the table with the provincial or federal government and they're very motivated to do something here in Manitoba, that timeline obviously gets a bit shorter. So I just picked an arbitrary 1 to 3 years. But, the overall steps would be perform a feasibility analysis. I think for us, just at a very high level, this is a very feasible option, right? Electric power is something that is we have a lot of in Manitoba. I don't think we're going to have any challenges that they have down in the States where, electric power can be rationed and things like that. That is not a challenge for us. A benefit, I think it's a benefit, is that Manitoba Hydro is a Crown corporation. So if there is a willingness from the provincial government that this is something that they want to do, it certainly becomes a lot easier when they have control over the electric utility. So I think from a feasibility perspective, I think we'd get a green check mark there and say, yeah, it would fit for us. We would have to look at the power supply specific to Oakbank and Beausejour. Certainly talk to the government about incentives. Choose the buses, talk to different vendors, find out which one fits the best for us, design and install the infrastructure, and obviously need to do some training, both our drivers and our mechanics. So for us, I'm putting together, the next steps is certainly talk to the provincial and federal government, talk to PTU. I don't even know what their roadmap is for electric buses right now, just to, obviously they need to approve every vendor, they need to approve every bus. It all has to meet the D250 standards for us here in Manitoba. So I'm not even sure where they're at on that piece. Very much going to continue dialogue from places like BC and PEI. There's probably a lot we can learn from them. They were very, very kind, very generous with their time, and obviously meet with the bus vendors to learn more about their products. And I'll come back here in November to give an update. So next slide, the shorter term option, and this one is this is what I'm pretty excited about. I think presents a great opportunity for us, and something that we haven't done here at Sunrise is really do a lot of investigation and looking at propane buses. So this is not a new technology at all. This is very much a proven technology. The very exciting, or the incentive for moving to propane is the operating costs. They're half the cost of diesel or gas. They cost a little bit more, but that $10,000 premium that you pay up front, we can get that back in 1 year of fuel savings. Again, we would not be a pioneer on this at all. In fact, we would be considered a midterm follower. There's a lot of school divisions in Manitoba that have gone all in on propane. Brandon has 20 plus, River East has more than 10, Selkirk has 2, Interlake has 2, and they've all had these for 2+ years. So they are not, this is not some new untested technology at all here in Manitoba. Obviously, we need to look at the filling stations, but I think we can do some quick work here over the next year. And my goal would be that we would look at our next bus purchase for next year to see if we can incorporate some propane buses into our fleet. So the next step, I think it would warrant a little more detailed business case to see what our savings would be. River East has offered to spend time with me over the summer to go through this in a little more detail. We would have to talk to Co-op and Superior about filling stations, and then determine if this is something we want to do for our 2022 bus purchase. So I would be more than happy to come back in November with an update on that. And that really is my high-level view on alternative fuel. So any questions?
Trustee Rowland here.
Hi.
Just wondering if compressed natural gas has been a consideration?
That they are. It is not as popular as propane, right? And they are similar. And I know there's a lot of long haul trucks that is what they are. That is what they are using. But there's not a lot of data in Manitoba on other divisions using that versus propane.
Do you know what Seven Oaks is using? I'm sorry if you mentioned that.
I honestly don't know. I have not had a lot of. Maybe they have moved to something different, but I don't know at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Are there any other questions for Jason?
I have one more.
Trustee. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jared.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say about the parent app. Is that expected to possibly be up and running for September?
It would not be up and running for September. Both of the vendors that we talked to, very distinctly said, do not implement this in September. Do not implement this at the start of the school year. It just becomes a logistical nightmare. So I will defer to their expertise, and that would probably be something that we would look at. Probably rolling out in if I do have a little bit more work to do on pricing and stuff like that, but probably that would be more of a November timeframe when we will have got through that start up of that first month of the school year is pretty hectic when it comes to busing. So probably because we need the buy-in from parents. Parents are very busy as well. And then you're throwing an app at them, and it's just been recommended that is not the best time to implement a parent app. You get better buy-in doing it just a little bit later.
Yeah, right when it gets colder, it'll be great.
Yeah.
So that's no problem. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thanks, Trustee Pachakowski.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Anyone else? Hearing none, thanks very much, Jason, for the information that you shared with us tonight. Much appreciated. Scott, did you
pleasure.
want to add? Scott, did you want to add anything?
No, no, just appreciate the work that Jason's done on this, and I'm anxious to hear some more. Anything that that potentially could save us operating costs makes my eyes light up a little bit. So good job, Jason.
My pleasure.
Okay, well-
Okay, have a great evening.
Yeah, have a good one. We'll move on. Thank you. 5.0 is about minutes. We have minutes from April the 20th. Be it resolved, the board adopt the April 20th board meeting minutes. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by
Peczkowski.
Trustee Petrikowski, seconded by
Roland.
Trustee Rowland. Questions to the minutes? Hearing none, we'll vote. Six were in favor, one was opposed. Thank you. Minutes of May the 4th, be it resolved, the board adopt the May 4th board meeting minutes. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by
Harris.
Trustee Harris, seconded by needs to be seconded by somebody.
Reed.
Trustee Reed, thank you. Comments to the minutes? Hearing none, we'll vote. Six were in favor, one was opposed. Thank you. Superintendent's report. Kathy, the floor is yours.
Why, thank you. I am just going to grab my report up on the other screen here. Just want to take again a quick shout out to all of the schools and the hardworking staff in all of our schools and all of our sites. Just really working hard and paddling strong and doing what we need to do for kids. So last week saw our first positive cases since January, and we have been doing contact tracing and communicating with communities and just letting people know sort of where we're at with cases. So just wanted to report in on where we were at the end of last week. We've had one further case this week. So we would now have 2 positive cases then at Whitemouth. We have shifted Powerview School to remote learning, as Trustee Mannion spoke about in the Sheriff's story. They will be in remote learning until Friday, May 28th at this point in time. Public Health and Manitoba Education will continue looking at case counts with us and community numbers with us. And always factors when we talk about going to remote, because we need to sort of have households in isolation in the community to make sure we put a lid on some of those numbers. Also have one of our colony schools that has shifted to remote just today. So Greenwald Colony School or Hofer Colony School is on remote learning as of today. When we talk about remote learning, just wanted to do a quick reminder that remote learning means that we have different times for what we call synchronous learning or learning of the whole group all together, and times where students are doing independent work. So those times for the synchronous learning will be posted by teachers, and that means that everybody would log on from wherever they are and would be part of that synchronous, and then they would go away and do some independent work. For children of critical services workers or essential workers, they can have space in the school if needed to log in and do their synchronous learning the same as everyone else. So if a school shifts to remote learning, that's an important piece for families to know, is that if you are a critical services worker or essential worker and you have a child in kindergarten to grade 6, your child can come to the school to do that remote learning in the school. There will be space for them. They will not be getting, day-long instruction, but we'll make sure that they have a space to do that learning. Still holding strong or holding firm or holding hopeful on grade 12 graduations. You can use the descriptor if you'd like. Again, hopeful that we'll be able to have some community gatherings, but we will try to adapt to whatever the magical number is for gathering. We're doing our long service and retirement entirely virtual this year. So stay tuned. We're going to have a premiere event on June 17th with some videos and speeches and photos that will happen. The premiere airing will be June 17th, and we'll have that available on the website after that date as well. We would encourage employees to sit down with their family to have a fancy meal and to watch their retirement and long service celebration. I wanted to speak a little bit to a bill that was passed in legislation that all employees, again, across the province are entitled to 3 hours of leave to go and get vaccinated. So that went into effect Thursday, May 13th, after Bill 73 received its royal assent. Last little bit is the province has a dashboard for tracking cases in schools. And I think the cases in schools is a little deceiving. It's cases associated with schools, because sometimes we have families and students who are not in attendance at school because they've been isolating for 10 days, or they've been at home, or they haven't been in the school at all, but will show up on the dashboard as a case in school when it's really a case associated to the school because the student is a student at the school. So if families or community members are going, oh my goodness, there's a case on the dashboard, but we didn't get a letter, it's because public health doesn't notify us about those cases if someone hasn't actually been physically present in the school. So that's a pretty important distinction. We're not withholding any letters or not up to date on our contact tracing. It's that we have some people who have not actually been present in the school. And again, we love the graphic that we have here, letting folks know when it is that they can attend school. It's got a very clear path about what do you do if you have a household member that's sick, what do you do if someone's a close contact, and what do you do if you've traveled outside the province. It takes you through what happens if you have a positive result or a negative result and what to do. So we kind of have been sharing that graphic with everyone to keep folks in the loop. I think that's it at this point in time. I was going to add, I think Scott mentioned before the transportation report, kind of working through some of the forest fires in the Whiteshell and impacting some families and employees and bus routes in our catchment. So just sending out some safety and some well-being to those folks who've potentially been evacuated from the homes up in the Whiteshell. Questions, if there are any.
Thanks, Kathy. Any questions for Kathy? Okay, no questions. We'll move on.
Thanks.
Scott, Secretary Treasurer's report.
Thanks, Paul. All right, we'll zip through, highlight a couple items. Again, the report's breaking down some of the goings on when maintenance, IT, finance, and transportation. I'll talk a little bit about maintenance first. As we all know, phase 2 of the Edwards Fryer HVAC replacement is being planned over the summer. They're doing the best right now. We've been working with the administrator over there to try and get access to the facility as quickly as we can without disrupting class, but that one's going to be a little bit tight to finish on time for September. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that things go well when that gets underway. I want to give credit to maintenance. All year and actually since last spring, I've charged Derek and Rita with sort of tracking the PPE that the province has graciously been providing to us, masks, and more recently safety glasses, face shields, things like that. To give you an idea of how difficult it can be sometimes, the province sent out an email a couple of weeks ago saying that they would be happy to provide us with safety glasses if that would make some of our staff more comfortable. So I ran around to the schools and asked, who wants and how many do you want? And the schools came back and said, yeah, I'll take 20, I need 15. And we didn't know at the time when the province shipped them out, they were bundled. The frames and lenses were bundled separately in bundles of 100. So it was a heck of a lot of work for our folks to, number one, unbundle them, number two, put them all together and get them out to school. So they've been doing things like that without complaint, certainly for the last 14 months, and hopefully one more month, and we can move forward over the summer and into the fall. I do have a bit more detailed discussion in the COVID costs, but suffice to say at this point we've installed the water bottle filling stations at all schools that we've ordered. We have begun the process of installing our video intercom systems, which obviously provides a layer of security to our schools. I'll talk again in more detail once we discuss under COVID costs. IT is working on a couple of key things. Number one, we've ordered and distributed a lot of replacement iPads. Some of the iPads, as you know, were getting a little bit long in the tooth, weren't able to even take updates and run software applications anymore. Another cool thing they're doing is actually doing a pilot project to test a system called Alertus, which would allow users from the secretary to the administrator, there's applications on your phone, to set off alarms if the need should arise in our facilities. I was over at SCC today, and some of the staff there were testing it out, and there's a pretty piercing alarm sound that comes out when you set off the alarm system. So it's something we might look at in the future for some of our schools, but right now just testing it in a couple of facilities to see how well it works. Jason didn't mention this in his presentation, but as he knows, I appreciate the help from ICT. We've implemented a field in our student information system, Maplewood, which will help us track which cohort students are in, and that's really very helpful to transportation when we start building routes for next year, because where those students sit on the bus is highly dependent on which cohort they're in. So appreciate ICT's assistance in that. Transportation, thanks Jason for presenting today. He spoke a little bit about the evacuation video, and I had mentioned it before. If you've got the report, I've embedded the link here, so go have a look at it. They did fantastic. The drama students from Edward Schreier were just excellent. Planning out routes for next year will be sort of the next big thing that we're going to jump on over the summer. Jason mentioned the parent app demos ongoing. We'll be looking at recommendations and costs in the near future, and we did discuss as well in camera the disposal of the surplus equipment that we're looking at. Finance has been crazy busy. Thanks, Susan, for doing all the legwork really in getting the interim financial statements to the province. Those were sent in on the 13th of May, well before the 22nd deadline. So excellent. Again, a pat on the back for all the staff in finance. We've been down a member who I understand is now returning tomorrow. So we're very excited to get back to a full complement. Everybody has really picked up the slack and made sure that nothing has sort of fallen by the wayside. We did touch on as well briefly in camera the public sector compensation disclosure. We'll have that certainly available to the board on June 1st. When I was speaking to the auditors MNP about the public sector compensation disclosure, they also mentioned they would have for me a draft audit service plan, and I would be happy to bring that to the board on June 1st, just for information as they lay out the process for audit. And that's about all I have. If there are any questions.
Any questions for Scott? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Scott. 8.1 is COVID cost update. Scott, you sent us some information. Is there anything to highlight?
Yeah, I guess the only thing I do want to highlight, I mentioned in my report, we're on track with COVID costs. The one thing I'll highlight is the video intercom systems. As I mentioned, I've got a little more detail in here. Anola was sort of the guinea pig, the first one. The installation started and was completed last week. So Anola now has the video intercom installed. Tony is very, very happy with it. Next up will be Dougal, Hazel Ridge, Bays, and Edward Schreier. Those should all be completed within a couple of weeks by June 4th. And then the rest of the sites have not yet been scheduled, but we'll be on track to have those completed by June 30th, which was the original targeted date.
Thank you. Any questions for Scott with regard to the COVID costs? Okay, we'll move on. 8.2 is updated financial projections, Scott.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Again, we touched on that briefly in camera. I've just, you know, I think it's important as we get closer to the end of the school year to keep the board informed as to where we're at. So we are tracking to, again, experience a surplus this year, you know, largely due to limiting expenditures to essential spending in relation to the pandemic environment that we're in. So, you know, we'll keep on bringing back updates as we move closer to year end.
Thank you. Any questions for Scott? Hearing none, we'll move on. 8.3 is our decision-making matrix, and we have it on here as the board was working with Colleen Coswell, and we know as a board we have some work to do to it. We spent some time on it, but we need to continue to spend some time on it. And so it's on here knowing that we continue to do so, and we've made a commitment that we're going to work on it through till December of next year. So that's on there for us to remind ourselves with it. Any comment from anybody on the decision-making matrix review? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. 8.4, the RMS Springfield Development Plan. It's for information. Is there anything to highlight, Scott?
No, just for information, Paul, both this one and the next are simply rezoning at this point in time. So once we get more information on the plan development, there'll be more to come.
Okay, questions from trustees? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to committee reports. Policy committee. So committee chair Harris, you've put some information here for us. Is there anything you would like to highlight?
No, there is a motion coming up in our next agenda item and a notice of motion in the following one. We met last week and our next meeting is June the 10th.
Okay. Any questions about the policy committee update, the information, the minutes from the meeting? Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward. There is standing committee selections. Be it resolved that the board approve the process for selecting trustees to serve on standing committees as outlined in the attached final draft of the standing committee selection document. To get it on the floor, we need a mover and a seconder. Moved by
Harris.
Trustee Harris, seconded by
I'll second it.
Trustee Nickel. Is that what you? Was that you? Okay.
Yes.
Trustee Harris, did you want to have any comment to that?
Yes, please. Throughout the school year, the policy committee regularly reviews on an annual cycle items throughout both the Sunrise Policy Manual and the Sunrise Reference and Procedure Manual. In addition, the policy committee is tasked from time to time by board motions to explore and research other various items of concern. Some of the changes to the policy manual may require changes to the operational bylaw. That is the case this year. A notice of motion is forthcoming under agenda item 8.8 tonight with regards to incorporating prior motions from this year into the operational bylaw. One of the items that policy committee reviewed over recent several meetings was with regards to the process of selecting standing committees. The policy committee has done their due diligence in researching an alternative process to elected committees. Any change with this process requires a corresponding change to the operational bylaw. Please note that the document that you have before you includes a way to have equal representation by all eligible trustees to serve on the standing committees. This would be done by a trustee noting their interest in specific committees, an appointment to committees by the board chair and vice chair, and then a vote by the entire board to approve the committees. This change is a significant one in terms of how this board has created standing committees for many years. The policy committee recognizes that this change to the committee selection process is a fairly contentious one. We are not sure if this is the will of the entire board. In order to get a formal commitment to the board, and in order to present it as a change to the operational bylaw, we feel it is only proper to present this change tonight as a board motion to confirm that there is in fact board interest in including this as part of next week's changes to the operational bylaw. And the quick background on that is that there are two other items that do require a change to the operational bylaw. This would be a third. Everything is coming as one next week. And we want to ensure that all three are passed at the same time. If there is not a commitment by the board on the standing committee selections, then we don't want to bring that forward as part of the operational bylaw next meeting. We would only want to bring the other two. We want all three to pass as one next meeting, or only two of them, depending on how this plays out, this motion tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Robin. Anyone else?
Oh, I have a question.
Go ahead, Trustee Paczkowski.
So I guess I'm just looking for clarification. So doesn't, because it doesn't really specify, it's not specific. So I know this is regarding standing committees only. At least that's the way it reads. So are we going to be electing a chair and vice chair at the inaugural meeting and then sending emails, or are we set, because we don't know who the chair is and who we're sending emails to before the inaugural when we elect a chair and vice chair? So how do we like, how does that happen? Just looking for clarification.
Don, do you want to address that, or do you want me to comment?
I can address that. What you do, you'll be sending it to everybody. So you send it to all the trustees, so all the trustees know what your interest is. And then we would elect the chair and the vice chair at the inaugural meeting. We would recess for about, we'll say 20 minutes, 25 minutes. At that time, the chair and the vice chair will come up with a slate of officers or a slate of committee members, and then it'll come back to the board and we have to approve it. If we don't approve their selection, that means they better go back and try to win another slate.
Okay, so I still have a follow-up question, because what you're proposing doesn't say that, Don. It says they'll supply their committee wishes to the chair. It doesn't say to the board. So I'm not sure that you guys are on the same page with what you're presenting to us tonight. And you know, regardless, I guess, of making even that clarity, I guess I'll make my final comment and I'll see if anybody else has any questions. Even if it was just to the chair, I have difficulty with this, because we do, it is democratic for a reason. And I feel that, I don't know where other trustees individually stand when we speak to Bill 64, which is the Education Modernization Act. But something I'm very critical in that legislation is appointed education authority. So an appointed board to overlook and oversee the education system in Manitoba, which I very strongly disagree with. And so I would very strongly oppose not appointees to committees.
If you read the thing, there's no appointees. It is approved democratically by the board. It says it must be approved by board motion, which means it's democratic. What the chair and vice chair does is they make a slate of potential committee members. This is quite common in municipal politics. The REIB makes a slate and then they go back to the council and the council have to approve. If the council doesn't approve, that means that REIB has to go back and try again. It's the same thing here. If the board, the chair cannot willy-nilly pick anybody they want, because the board will say, no, we don't agree with that. So we haven't taken away the democratic right of anybody.
Thank you, Trustee Nicol. Any other questions, comments?
I have a question. It's Trustee Rowland. Just further to that, are you not saying that, maybe I'm for clarification as well, that the board chair would not be appointing the people to that list, selecting who is on that list to be further approved by the board in general? Like, there's still the selection by the chair and the vice chair to see who would be possibly put forward to be voted upon. Is that not what you're saying?
That's right. The chair and the vice chair sits down and we are trying to make sure that every trustee is on a committee. And we're also trying to make sure that every trustee in the 4-year term would have a chance to be on more than one committee, so they rotate, so you get the experience. So this is a better way of, my way of thinking, a better way of utilizing the expertise of all the trustees, and we rotate. But again, I want to emphasize that it has to be approved by the board, so it's still democratic. Did that answer your question, Anne?
Yes, yes. I was just looking back at previous years when people have been nominated to boards, or sorry, to committees, and then refused nominations to be considered to, I'm just wondering where we're benefiting.
Well,
the
what would
process.
happen, the trustees will probably let everybody know what committees they'd be would like to sit on, and the chair and the vice chair is not going to nominate somebody or approve somebody to go on the committee if they know already that they don't want to be on that committee.
Just to respond, is that's true, but I guess what I'm saying is this process going to get people to take on positions that they didn't want anyways? Like, there's an assumption that people do want that variety, and they do, like, that's not being fulfilled at the current process.
Well, no, you're not going to be on it. I don't believe the chair and the vice chair would put somebody on the committee if the person doesn't want to be on the committee.
Thanks, Don. Any other questions?
I have some comments, Trustee Reed.
Go ahead, Trustee Reed.
I'm on the policy committee, and I'm one of the people that was opposed to this change. I agree with Jarrett that it's, in my mind, it's not very democratic, and the other thing is that I guess the 6 years I've been on here, we've always had a vote, and it seemed to work fine to me. So I'm opposed to this change. I think that everyone on the committee knew I was opposed to it, so I'm just telling the trustees that are in the room right now. And the other comment I guess I have, well, no, I won't even, I'll just leave it there.
Thanks, Russ. Anyone else?
Trustee Duma?
Go ahead, Diane. Trustee Duma.
I think it's an interesting question to think that this is a democratic process that has to be argued over, when I consider it more to be sharing of the workload of the committees of the board and making sure that everybody on the board has a chance to participate equally. So I don't see this as a voting issue or democracy issue. I see it, the election of trustees as trustees onto the board is the democratic piece. When we elect our chair and vice chair, that's our democratic piece. I think it's very fair to say to your board members that we're going to make sure that you all have a chance to participate on the committees. And I think the board should reflect on how they have done committee voting in the past, whether it has ended up being that fair. So I think that people could look at that and how it has happened in the past. The only part in this piece that I disagree with is the third statement down. When we talk about differences of our job responsibilities, I don't believe that there needs to be a column in there with consultation by senior admin if requested. I don't know why you would need to do that. I think it should be something that is the board's job to assign, and I think the board should be considering their chair and their vice chair as being quite competent to do it. So other than that, I think it's fine, and I think it's an interesting thing to try.
Thanks, Trustee Duma. Any others? Okay. Hearing none, we'll vote. Stacy, what's coming up on my screen is the minutes of the voting response to 5.2 minutes, May the 4th.
I see that. I'm just trying to refresh ESB. I'm not sure why it's not doing it right. So if you hold tight for 1 minute, please.
Thank you. So just to pause here, we're just waiting on voting on ESB, and it looks like it's ready to vote now. Thank you, Stacy. And it's been defeated. There was 2 in favor and 5 were opposed. So we're going to move on. Thank you. We are now on, so we're back to you, Chair Harris, with regard to policy. Did you need it? Go ahead.
So we're bringing notice of motion. The policy committee will be bringing the operational bylaw to the June 1st meeting to incorporate prior motions from this year, which include section 5 on participation at meetings, section 7 on electronic meetings. You'll see that next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. 8.9 is our finance committee update. Committee Chair Rowland, is there anything that you want to add?
Nothing to add. We do have a monitoring report that we will be approving, and that's coming up on the agenda.
Okay. So there is a there's no check register, but there's a monitoring report. Okay, I see it. Thank you.
That's correct. And this last month, well, we have 2 to approve this time around, as last month it got, with Susan being so busy, the monitoring report got deferred to this month. So we have 2 to approve.
So Trustee Rowland, there is no check register for right now?
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
9.0 is professional development, and there's nothing there. And there's a financial monitoring report, as Trustee Rowland was just talking about. For the report for March 2021, be resolved, the board adopt a financial monitoring report for the months ended in March 2021, reviewed by the finance committee. And when did you review it, Diane?
We reviewed it April 29th.
April 29th, thank you. On April 29th, you need a mover in a second, or move by?
I'll move it.
Trustee Rowland, seconded by?
Reed, I'll second it.
Trustee Reed, any questions to the monitoring report?
Question from Trustee Duma.
Go ahead, Trustee Duma.
So we're approving the one that is for the month ending March 31st.
We are.
Could you look at the financial monitoring report, the memorandum at the beginning, and tell me whether that makes any sense? Date
sure.
for presentation as information to the Board of Trustees on May the 18th and to the Finance Committee on May the 25th.
Yeah, so we, Diane, it looks like you've got those dates backwards. It should have gone to the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee, it didn't go on afterwards.
Whoops, that is correct. Sorry, thank you, Diane. Right, it was not prepared last time, as I said, with Susan being bogged down with provincial reporting. Correct, our next meeting, we will be reviewing that.
Yeah, I think if I can jump in, I just, we didn't want to go 3 months without having presented these to the board. So they actually, the one we reviewed in April was for February. These will be coming up at the next Finance Committee meeting, but we did want to present them to the board as information, just so we weren't 3 months behind.
Okay.
So they be coming in as information and not for voting then?
Correct, correct.
Sorry, that is my mistake then. Thanks for catching that, Diane. It was my mistake because they're coming for information. So thanks for that. So there should not be a monitoring report that's there. That's my mistake about going ahead and doing that. They're there for information. Does anybody have any questions on the March 2021 monitoring report? Okay, hearing none. We have a monitoring report for April and it's coming for information. Does anybody have any questions for the financial monitoring report for April that will be reviewed on May 25th by the Finance Committee and then come back to the board? This is there for information. Anybody have any questions on that? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Diane Rowland, and thank you, Diane Duma, for that information clarifying. Board correspondence 11.0, information that's been received and back and forth. There's none nice to know information, so you've got some nice to know information that's in there. I'm not going to read them all out. You have it there. We have upcoming board meetings on June the 1st, and we have a learning session on June the 8th, and we have a board meeting on June the 15th. And we have our long service retirement celebration on June the 17th. And as soon as graduations are finalized, we'll get that information out as well.
A question from Trustee Duma.
Yes, go ahead, Trustee Duma.
Regarding that Clipper announcement about the adult ed funding, did the school division receive a letter regarding that?
Someone's gonna have to help me with that. Scott?
We received an email from Adult Education, but nothing formal, I don't think, at this point, Scott, unless you have something.
I don't believe so. I actually sat with Tanis Magnuson, our principal of Adult Ed. I want to say it was last Wednesday or Thursday, to put together the revised budget. They were asking for some changes. Adult Ed was, along with a cash flow forecast, and we submitted that. I think Kathy was in interviews, but signed off on it on Friday, probably, and I think we've just got that in. So I anticipate we'll get approval of our budget very shortly.
Diane,
I wonder, well, it does
ahead.
in a way, but it also triggers my decision-making matrix, as that might be an item in the column that we think about, and not to forget that one. Thanks.
Good point. Thank you. Keep that in the back of your mind and put it to the decision-making matrix. Thanks for doing that. As we move forward, Scott, 14.1, questions from the public. Do we have questions from the public?
I have nothing at this point, Mr. Chair.
And can we revise 14.1 for the future, Scott, as we read it out? Just what's listed there. Questions from the public on agenda items. Send all questions to S. Carlton. Can we just make sure that we've got questions from the public?
You bet. Yep.
Thank you. We do need to move back into in camera. We will not. Oh, sorry. We do have some items from in camera. So let me ask this question. Do we want to solve those things and then go back into in camera? Because there may be, I don't think that there's anything else coming out of in camera that is that will have any motions. But we do have two motions from in camera that we could solve now. Suggestions, Scott, Kathy?
I don't think there's anything else coming out. So I think if we wanted to do these resolutions, we'd be okay with doing that.
I think that from
Agreed.
Trustee Nichols' point is that there were some items that were added, and we will not be able to make any motions on those added items. So these would be the only two motions that would ever come out of in camera, even though that we're going back into in camera. So if the trustees are okay, we're going to move forward with the items from in camera that we discussed already. Hearing no objection, be it resolved that the board approve the advertisement for the sale of the 11 surplus vehicles identified by the Secretary Treasurer. The equipment will be advertised for the sale until June the 1st on an as-is basis for $1,900 each. Any vehicles not sold will be disposed for scrap metal. And a mover and a seconder.
Pachkowski.
Moved by Trustee Pachkowski, seconded by
Harris.
Trustee Harris. Thank you. Any questions on this from trustees?
What number is this one?
This is 17.1, Russ.
Okay.
This is about us selling the buses that are the surplus vehicles that we have.
Yeah.
And if we don't sell them, we're selling them for scrap.
Yes. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Any questions?
Were you going to include anything in there that about Sunrise School Division or not? And was there going to be an end date in it?
So the end date is June the 1st. The equipment will be advertised for sale until June the 1st.
Okay.
So the end date will be there. And the division did discuss that we will give first priority to Sunrise School Division people. It's not in the motion. It is something that we did discuss. It's now recorded live for it. I'm not sure that it needs to be in the motion, but I'm glad you said it because now it's recorded that we have that there, Diane. Thank you.
Chairman Young?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
That's fine. When you say Sunrise people, you mean people who reside in the Sunrise catchment area, not just people who you know, all right, work for Sunrise, right?
This is for anybody within the Sunrise catchment area. Thank you very much for clarifying that, Miss Timko.
Wanted to make sure.
It's Trustee Paczkowski here. Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, yes, sir.
Just so it's also recorded, that we offer priority to anybody who resides within Sunrise School Division. They obviously need to have proof of physical address. And if anybody's submitted that live outside of the division on June 1st, if they haven't all gone before they go to scrap, then those people could be considered, and then they go to scrap.
Yeah, so I think that's something we would leave in the secretary's hands. That's a great comment, Trustee Paczkowski. So part of it is it's for Trustee Duma. We're selling these buses that were bought with taxpayers' money in the Sunrise catchments. So if anybody wants to buy one, the Sunrise catchment people will have the opportunity to buy one, and then they'll go outside the catchment area and then they'll go to scrap. Thank you. Are we good? I've messed up enough names as it is on this one, so hearing no more questions, we'll go ahead and vote. Seven in favor, so it passed unanimously. Thank you for going ahead and doing that. And Stacy, thanks for getting that up there so I didn't have any more marbles in my mouth come out. 17.2. Be it resolved that the board offer the position for the École Beausejour Early Years School Assistant Principal as recommended by the superintendent. I need a mover and a seconder.
Paczkowski.
Moved by Trustee Paczkowski, seconded by
Trustee Duma.
Trustee Duma, thank you. Any questions on this? Hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 7-0. Thank you for going ahead and doing that. So again, we will not have any kind of motions coming out, but we do want to go back into in-camera for a short time. We will be coming out of in-camera, but there will be nothing to, no motions coming from there. So the process then, Scott or Kathy, you want to take us through the process?
Yep, we'll just have to leave this meeting. If you go to your calendar to the 6 o'clock meeting, that room should still be available for us to jump into.
Thank you. Let's do that now.